And we are back at the Spartan Investor Conference 2025 at the Marriott Marquis at the heart of Times Square. I'm Jane King, and you're watching Idea Exchange. And with me is Gerald Comising, the Chief Business Officer at OS Therapies. So tell me about OS Therapies. What does the company do?
Sure. OS Therapies acquired assets from a company called Advaxis. They spent about $400 million developing listeria and attenuating it and targeting it only to infect cancer cells. And so what we do is we deliver this listeria into the body. It preferentially infects cancer cells that express a certain antigen, in our case HER2, and then it creates more antigens inside the cell, so it lights up that cancer cell to the immune system and tricks it into thinking that the cancer is listeria, which it is because it's infected. And then it activates cellular immunity for listeria against the cancer cell. And that's a whole different type of immunity as compared to what you typically get in response
Okay.
to
Oh,
cancer.
fascinating. Because I give listeria, I think of, food recalls and things like that. But you're actually kind of using listeria to trick the cancer.
That's right.
Yeah.
Listeria is a bacteria that we've co-evolved with for 3,000 years. So there is a really robust and rapid immune response. That's why people get sick
Yeah,
when
yeah,
they eat
yeah.
these listeria things. Ours is just bioengineered to really only target those cancer cells. And so when the body responds and has that attack, it responds to the cancer cells. And then we give an antibiotic about 4 hours after we infuse it. So the listeria goes away, but the immune response keeps on trucking to train the body to kill those cancer cells.
Okay. Is this a shot?
Yes, it's
You
it's an
administer
infusion.
an injection.
Yeah.
Okay. And where are you in terms of clinical trials, FDA approval? Like, how does that all work?
Sure. So the platform has been used in over 1,000 patients across many, many different cancers, from HPV to breast cancer, et cetera. We use this HER2 version of the platform to go after osteosarcoma, which is a rare bone cancer, about 1,000 patients in the US. About the only treatment really for osteosarcoma is to amputate. Once you
Mm,
amputate, about half the patients who survive are cured. The other half get metastatic pulmonary, which means it's goes to their lungs.
okay.
And so when that happens, that's really when survival drops like a rock. And
Wow.
so we go after those patients. The only treatment there is to actually cut out the cancer from the lungs. They call that resection, pulmonary resection. They do that over and over and over.
Okay.
Unfortunately, there's an over 95% death rate in
Oh
this
my
disease over
goodness.
5 years.
Okay.
We're coming in with immunotherapy to try, after the resection, to identify those little micrometastases that seed the next metastatic event and kill those. And
Okay.
so we're preventing the return of the cancer
Yeah.
and training the immune system that even if it does return, that it's better at killing it over time.
Okay. And you're focusing just on that cancer right now,
Correct.
right?
So we
Okay.
finished the phase 2B trial,
Uh-huh.
40 patients.
Okay.
Like I said, there's about 400 annually in the US. So about 10% of the population in the trial. Open label, very good data, over 75% 2-year overall survival compared with 30% in the historical control. Um, we have over 1,000 patients of safety data for the platform. We've had 2 FDA meetings after our data. Now we're having a third meeting on December 11th, and we're filing for approval in January.
Okay. So if all goes as you hope or plan, approval in 2026?
Correct.
Okay. And then it would go to, I guess, physicians at that point to
Correct.
prescribe?
We would commercialize in late 2026, early
Okay.
2027.
Now, do you think that this might apply to other cancers at some point?
Oh, absolutely. So this specific vector, as I mentioned, it targets HER2, and we all know Herceptin. So the next big one is breast cancer.
Okay.
It's very interesting, this listeria mechanism. So a lot of immunotherapies try to develop antibodies. So you hear about vaccines that develop neutralizing antibodies to
Mm-hmm,
prevent
mm-hmm.
infection or to hit a certain target. Listeria doesn't respond by creating antibodies, it responds by creating cellular immunity. So the combination of antibodies with cellular immunity from Listeria is very potent. So we've seen combination of Herceptin with our OST HER2 therapy actually fully killing the breast cancer in the animal models as opposed to just holding it down. So we're
Wow.
very excited about that as a next step.
Well, and a very innovative approach to fighting cancer, too. I have not heard of this.
Yeah, it was
Seriously?
originally developed at University of Pennsylvania. It's home
Okay.
to all the great immunotherapies. It was
Mm.
first developed for flu in the 1980s, and They didn't think, treating an infectious disease with an infectious disease, ultimately the regulators didn't like that. But cancer made a lot more sense. And so, this company Advaxis, they were going after bigger indications. So they spent a lot of money going after HPV was the big ones. Unfortunately for them, it was right after Gardasil came out. And so there was a 98% plunge in HPV-related cervical cancers.
Right.
And so, not the right time to bring in HPV product to market, but we have the rights to a program that finished a phase 3 in cervical cancer. We also have a program that is reading out on a phase 1 in prostate cancer later this month and has data in combination with Keytruda, which we think it'll work very well with a different vector in non-small cell lung.
Interesting. And Keytruda has been a real success story.
It has,
Yes.
but now it's part of the standard of care. So people are, instead of looking at the great things they're doing now, they're like, okay, well, it's still deficient in that. And so we can help address some of those deficiencies.
Help enhance that. So, well, Gerald, thank you so much. It's important work that you're doing. And how can people follow these clinical trials?
Sure. Our website is ostherapies.com. And if you follow on the stock side, our ticker is OSTX, traded on the New York American.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
I thank you as well for joining us. And we will be back with some more executives and more interesting companies.